Well, Young Justice is back, and we've got 3 whopping episodes to go through. So we're going to get into it. I got a whole page of notes. I'm going to try to keep this review at 15 minutes or less, so let's get into it. So where we left off at the end of part 1 of season 4 of Young Justice Phantoms was we had the big mystical fight and everything like that. So where we start in this episode, which is episode 14, Nocturnal Twilight. We kind of catch up with Aqualad at this point, where we see in the Artemis or the Croc era, or the Croc arc is what I call it, where Aqualad and Nightwing are coming to tell him about Connor. Then we fast forward, I think another month. I didn't write down the dates. We fast forward a little bit, where it's like Aqualad and Nightwing are having a discussion about the hologram and Tula and all these other things, and Nightwing's like, look, I just kind of after Wally died, I kind of dumped the team on you and I left. So if you need some time off, and he said, no, this is what I want to do. So I think really in this season they're really felt like with the stress of Gar and the mental status of Gar, and they're trying to kind of show the different angles in which we handle like stress and depression and stuff like that, which is good. It's good for, especially because my 13-year-old daughter watches this with me, and it's good for her to see this kind of stuff. So I know it maybe for like adults we're like kind of like, but keep in mind this show was originally geared towards teens, so I'm glad the show grew up with us. I'm glad that they've kind of matured it a bit, and blood and stuff like that. But also at the same time, I'm glad that they're kind of keeping to their roots, at least in some ways. So, we then cut to a scene where we get to see Ocean Master, and he's apparently back after losing his head. And I think it was season 2. I might be wrong on that one, but I know it was in one of the, I think it was second or third season. He was like spying and going to kill all the kids and significant others of the heroes. I forget whose house it was, but I remember. And then Lady Shiva came and off with his head. More on that later. We then go to we go to like a summit of sorts with the many regions of the ocean, so we kind of get to see and learn about the many regions of the ocean. You have like not King Shark, but like a King Shark type character there who represents an area. We've got a octopus or a Cthulhu type looking character there, kind of representing an area. We've got some mermaids there representing, of course, Atlantis. We have Aquaman, which was Aqualad, Calderon. He's there representing the Justice League. So I mean, there's a lot, and then apparently one of the areas, I think Mira's dad, Mira's dad, his region, just they didn't send anybody because apparently they're not giving anything, like they're not taking anything seriously. They're distancing themselves from King Arthur and all that yada yada. So, but we do get to see that, and that's kind of fun. It's kind of like a summit type thing. They're talking about like climate, like how climate change is affecting them, how the surface rollers are affecting them, how other actually underwater regions are affecting them. The sharks actually talk about the what is it, the chum, either chum or whatever they say it's like the backbone of their food chain. So there are eco things going on in the ocean too. So this is a lot of, I mean, I enjoyed this portion of the episode because it was just nice to see the growth in this universe of like this. And I know some people probably think it's boring, but this kind of excited me. I was like, oh, this is nice. We get to learn more about Atlantis and the ocean. A lot of this stuff we'll probably see in Aquaman 2. Maybe we saw a little bit of it in Aquaman 1. We might see more of it in Aquaman 2, but okay, so we finally get eyeballs on our not Aquaboy, I don't know what, Superboy, who is in some kind of astral purgatory plane. Okay, he's last thing he remembers is he was dying. Phantom Girl is there with her. I don't know why. She just is comatose. We don't know why. So he calls her Ghosty. Ghosty. Okay. We go back to Atlantis at this point, and we get to see a lot of just like camaraderie in Atlantis. They're at kind of like a restaurant type thing where there's like this glowy algae that they eat that makes them drunk. Okay, sure, why not? I don't care. We also get to see coriander. You know what? That's I said earlier coriander, and that's Starfire. I'm so dumb. Kalder, right? Kalder is his name. I don't know. I'm getting my peeps mixed up. Coriander is Starfire. I'm sorry. I know you're yelling at your screen. Sorry. So they're all talking, and then I think they go over to talk. They go. As I said, this is 3 episodes crammed in my brain. I took as best notes as I could. So we see a lot of that. There's a little encounter between everybody and the sharks, the shark people, and so then Aqualad, Kalder steps in and uppercuts the shark, and there's it's aggressive negotiations is what it is. The summit then. Oh, I'm sorry. Then we go to a section where Violet talks. Violet, aka Halo, visits. I believe it's Gabrielle's mom, but she doesn't consider herself Gabrielle, obviously. So she's kind of talking to her surrogate mom. I don't know, whatever you want to call it, about religion and Gabrielle's religion and everything like that, and so, she's kind of trying to figure out who she is and where she's at in this world. She talks about not wanting to take the hood off, and the name escapes me. I'm sorry. I should have wrote it down. But, she talks about taking that off. She asks if it's okay for her to wear it. And her mom says, a lot of people, they put it on, but they don't exactly know the reason until later. So it's okay. So there's a lot. I mean, Halo's just got some character development here, trying to come into her own, which is okay. We're kind of getting some more info on, Halo as a character, which is nice. So we go back to the Ocean Summit, and Aurum shows up again. Well, again, we don't know what's going on because Aurum is dead. We think he's dead. He had a severed head. Normally that kills people, except for Deadpool, maybe Lobo, there's a big old fight, and it's a pretty cool fight. It's nice watching a bunch of ocean magic users and Atlantean magic users and Atlantean people, just a big old fight. But Aurum is pretty powerful, and he just basically they're in Poseidonus, and they just basically destroy Poseidon. They don't destroy it, but they definitely attack. He attacks Poseidonus and leaves it in wreckage. A mystery cloaked figure shows up, and he's pretty balls to the wall powerful with magic. I mean, he shoots some yellow bolts and stuff, and it just where King Aurum. King Aurum. Yeah. I call him King Arthur because his name's Arthur Curry. So I think his name is King Aurum, but I'm going to call him King Arthur just because it's Aquaman. But it's confusing because Aqualad is now Aquaman, and then Aquaman is now King Arthur, and it's just really confusing. So anyway, he's taking everybody out. Aurum is taking everybody out. He is the Ocean Master. He's got the trident and everything like that. And he's just the trident of Poseidon. He's just... They waste, oh man, 9 minutes. 9 minutes before I started yawning. So he leaves it, but this guy shows up, and then he raffle stomps Aurum, and he leaves. And as he's frustrated. He goes back to a older gentleman with long hair, gray hair. He comes in later episodes, but he goes back frustrated to him. The older gentleman with the long hair is more of he was one of Aurum's lieutenants, I believe. So we end on that. Well, we end on that. The credit shows Violet finally deciding her pronoun, which is they. So that's a nice little another. As I said, they're giving Halo a little bit more character here. So I'm glad that we're getting more character from Halo. So All right, we get into episode 15, Ebb Tide. So we start the episode off in Metropolis with Clark Kent sitting in a diner and is approached by the Legion of Superheroes. Then we jump over to Poseidon. So I'm like in the middle of my notes, so it's hard to read, and my handwriting's terrible. We jump to Poseidon, and then Superboy. Oh, okay. We jump to Poseidon, just kind of seeing the aftermath and everything like that, and then we jump to Superboy, who is attacked by a space snake. That's what I wrote. Epic note taking. Epic note taking for. Anyway, so it's like some kind of like. It reminds me of Queen Snake or whatever her name was from Snake Way in Dragon Ball. Like it looked like the head looked exactly like it. I'm sorry, it did. Like I was like, is Goku gonna have to fight this thing? I don't know. So Connor gets messed up a bit. He gets scratches on his front, on his back, which we did see at the end of part 2 when we saw the quick glimpse of Connor. We saw these scratches across his chest. So, yeah, that's my dog. So, yeah, so we then go back to, sorry, I'm not cutting this. Sorry. This is just a lot. So then oh God, my notes. Okay, so then Mira is talking with King Arthur about the prophecy and everything like that. And we kind of get a history lesson of that, and then we also get a history lesson. We get like a flashback and talking about Kalder's upbringing. We've never seen this before, so I'm really happy about this. So, yay! More character. I'm loving the character development here, and there's enough action and character development that it's keeping me intrigued. I'm really liking this beginning. Rather than, I'm sorry, part 1's beginning was very slow. I like that part 2 is starting off a little bit more heavy-handed and a little bit more, I don't want to say high octane. It seems a little bit excessive, but that's kind of how it is. So we have then Superman talking to the Legion of Superheroes. It's really funny because it's like they're floating outside the Daily Planet, and then Superman flies out from the Daily. He's like, "Hey, my friend Clark Kent told me you wanted to talk to me," and they're both like, we know you're Clark. Like the looks on their faces, like, we know you're Clark, but whatevs, dog. I thought that was very humorous. So they're talking. I don't know if I'm okay. So the Legion of Superheroes tells, which is Saturn Girl, and I can never remember the Metamorpho. Is that his name? I think that's wrong, but he basically told them that he needs to show up as Superboy 10 years from that day, and show up somewhere. I don't even think they told him where, but he needs to show up 10 years from the day as Superboy, because there's a pivotal moment in history that Superboy needs to be at. And then as he flies away, they're like, well, that sucks because he must have failed, because we would have had a hard reset if we would have had a reset if he did succeed, because they said the future's all messed up because of this. And but then also Saturn Girl saying, well, but we might also be, there's a lot of chronoton, temporal, blah 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 juice around us and flowing through us, so maybe we are exempt from these changes and we don't notice them. There's a big old fight scene between Kalder and Connor and this space snake is what I'm calling it. I don't know. So he clears his mind. He's trying to figure out how. It's like the movie Ghost. It's like where he was trying so hard to touch things and he just couldn't. And so he's trying really hard to touch things and he couldn't. He had to really concentrate. So then he realized, wow, this thing's attracted to my rage. So he's just like, okay, clear my mind, remember McGann, remember all the fun, remember all this, that, and the other. And then he becomes tranquil, and then the snake goes right through him and then buggers off, as to coin a frame from Zam. Okay, so sure, why not? I mean, whatever. I just this part is a little weird and timey wimey, and it's just like, okay, whatever. I'm okay with it, but it's just still like, well, what are we doing here? We need to move this along a little bit more. So now we get into the last arc at Poseidonus, where we get in the last arc of Poseidonus, or we get into the last arc of the series when Dr. Fate and all them are going from place to place looking for the pillars, because that red flame pillar shows up. So everything that's happened before this was happening prior to the events of the end of part 1. So this all has already been moving and going. So because we do see Dr. Fate and them come through the portal, and actually I think Kalder sees them too. He looks up, he's like, what the hell? So he then, I'm already at 15 minutes. Oh well, sorry guys. But it shows this end of it, like them fighting this pillar and everything like that. Eventually Aurum shows up to help them, and then the mystery figure shows up to help them. And then I don't know if like the pillar disappears because the three of them destroy it, or if it just happened at the end of the whole Carrion Dr. Fate versus Child thing ended at that point. They don't really indicate whether it was coincidental or whether it was them actually beating it. So, don't know. But I mean, those are pretty powerful dudes. I mean, in this sequence, Aquaman is a little bit discouraged because he's like, great, I'm crowd control, fantastic. He told all the sea life to run. He helped out. I think his name was Blubber. I don't know. He's like an assistant to the king or something, like a planner. It looked like he was just kind of like a sperm whale, maybe. I don't know. But he, so Aquaman saves him, but Aquaman has to go. He can't stay. So Aurum and the Stranger and Mira all either A, defeat it, or B, just hold it off until it's defeated in the other story arc. Okay. So okay, so they do that. They arrest Aurum, and it is revealed that the Cloaked Stranger is Arian, the founder of Atlantis. So this is earlier in part 1, we found out in like with Vandal Savage that obviously he had an heir that ruled Atlantis. Arian is eternal because he is a direct offspring of Vandal Savage. So he is now still alive, obviously, because of Vandal Savage, and so it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. So, So with all that, that's the big reveal. The king is returned, blah blah blah, and he obviously is less than happy about being. He doesn't want it, basically. At the very end of the episode, we have the Legion of Superheroes in human form, and they are approaching Kid Flash, because we see Jay Garrick leaving the house, and then they ring the doorbell, and then Bart Allen comes to the door. And then the end credits is Vandal Savage talking about he's on the War World. He's talking about Project Thenis. I wonder if that's like when you have 3 anuses. I don't know. But I think it's like a Greek god or something. I'm kidding. I think it's like a Greek god. But still, I didn't have a chance. So we'll just figure out more about that. I feel like this is going to come into play in later episodes. All right, we are on the final episode of this week, which is episode 16, called Emergency Dive. So we start with Forager McGann and Baby just kind of talking at the house, and Forager kind of gives, because Forager didn't want to Forager was being sensitive to McGann, and like, look, I know you're suffering, blah blah blah, but Gar is in a bad way. Like, Gar is not going out with the team. He's broken up with Brienne, and he just so then McGann's like, well, what the hell? So that more to come later. We go back to where they're kind of testing Arian to prove who he is. They have him using magic. They have like just technology proving stuff. I mean, I don't know how they're going to prove it unless, as they said, they could find a hair follicle from the crown of the original king of Atlantis, which brings us to the mission. The next thing we get to is there is a well, McGann is talking with Gar, and she's just not getting anywhere. So she tries to talk with him. She tries to plead with him to just get some help or something like that. He's being the stubborn asshole is what he is, and I kind of feel like they're going a bit excessive with this, and I know why they're doing this story arc. I know why they're doing it the way they are, but I feel like Beast Boy, I don't know, maybe he wasn't the right character to do this with. Maybe maybe it is. I'm on the fence about it. I don't hate it, but I don't necessarily like it. It's kind of a bittersweet thing with him, because Beast Boy is always the happy one, the happy-go-lucky one. And I know in Young Justice he's a lot different than he is in obviously Teen Titans and all these other things. It's more of a grown-up Gar. Even in Titans, he's still pretty normally happy-go-lucky, but even that Gar has had a rough go about it in Titans. But anyway, we see mission prep to head to like the ancient ruins of the original Atlantis that fell, which is actually in Mira's father's territory, and they're not really welcome there. So they're kind of prepping for that. There's a lot of because Kalder's husband or boyfriend, I think it's his husband, doesn't want him to go to do it because he basically says, you've been running nonstop. You need to stop for a minute. But there's a lot going on, and Aquaman is like, look, I'm leader. I have to do these things. I have been ordered by my king. One thing I wanted to bring up that I didn't bring up earlier is that they have, I don't know what the term is for, but they have 3-person weddings. Like they have, or marriages. Because early in the first episode, well, in episode 14, there was a guy, a girl, and then Lagoon Boy. And they're all in a relationship. And it's not that I have a problem with that, but I'm just like, that's another dynamic of Atlantis I just didn't know. I don't know if it's just like, it's a normal thing, or if it's like, Atlantis is just more accepting. Like, look, if this is how you want to handle your relationship, this is how you handle your relationship. Which would, be awesome if we could get that on the surface world. But, whatever. So anyway, that's just a little tidbit that I meant to bring up earlier and I forgot. Because, as I said, I'm kind of blowing through these notes. We go back into the astral plane where, and that's what I'm just going to call it, is that Superboy starts hallucinating McGann, Superman, who else? Wally, just a bunch of people. Like he starts hallucinating, seeing people. I mean, obviously because he's alone. And there is a point where when Superman shows up, and then I don't know. I call him B4. I know that's a Star Trek thing, but the clone of Superman or the clone of Superboy. Well, technically the clone of Superman from season 1, who then was all Kryptonian clone, and he's all aggressive. That he shows up and snaps Superman's neck, and then Superboy. He's starting to hallucinate a lot. Is basically what it is. He looks down. He's got blood on his hands, and he's in that Superboy B4 outfit. So yeah, he's kind of Superboy. I don't think he's losing it, but it's more like he's trying to figure out what he needs to do, and he's mentally trying to figure that out. I don't know. In this episode, Gar gets an intervention, and it's actually a really good intervention. I really like this part of the episode because it showcases like when somebody is so far gone that they don't want help. Like that's kind of that, and that's what they're kind of showing here, is that you kind of have to meet people where they are. Everybody threw everything at Gar, like the Static Shock and Hermione, Blue Beetle. I believe that's who it was. He was in human form, obviously, but I'm pretty sure it was Hermione. Not Hermione. Oh God, Blue Beetle. See, now I'm getting Harry Potter people mixed up. It's not Hermione. It's close to that though. But he's throwing. They have a speech planned out, and then Robot Man has and I really love that they showed Robot Man. I love Robot Man. they showed up Robot Man, and he's basically like, look, the entire Doom Patrol died. They found my head in like a cave or something like that, like after the explosion. Like Doc, Elastigirl, you know, all of them are dead, and they basically found my head and put me back together, and you're the one who brought me back, you know, because I had survivor's guilt. And now, I mean, even McGann is just like, look, this is different. Like you this is way different. This is obviously you need help. So at the end of that, basically McGann says, look, fine. Like if you're not going to accept our help, then we are going to do this the official way. You have to, you know, every yearly psych evals for leaguers, outsiders, and the team are, you know, are mandatory every year, and yours is overdue. So you need to have a session with Black Light or with Black Canary, and if you do not pass that, you will be removed as an outsider, you know, and everything like that. So we kind of end on that with that, and that's, you know, I don't know. I mean, Beast Boy's kind of got a thing going on here, so. Okay, so Aquaman goes to talk to Aurum in the prison, and he is surprised to find out that there's a problem with the stories that, you know, when he's talking to him, because he says that King Arthur came and visited him 16 times, and like Arthur's like, I went and visited him, or I went to the prison 16 times, but I never visited him. I don't think, maybe once, but like he didn't do it 16 times. So he's like, something's up here. So then he went and talked to Aurum's lieutenant, and he said, you know, even the lieutenant said, look, I have nothing to do with this, but I noticed when he showed up that there were gaps in his memory, there were some odd things, and King Arthur's like, well, I'm pretty sure he's a clone. So that explains why Severed Head Aurum is back. Okay, whatever. Clone. Okay, we do this all the time. I mean, obviously Superboy's a clone, so it's probably, you know, something with the light. I mean, it's got to be. Why, you know, they clone Ocean Master. And so we kind of end on that. The very end credits of episode 16 is Fred Bug with 2 G's is giving his valedictorian speech, and obviously at the end of season 3 he came out to all his classmates, said he was an alien, yada yada. So he's not holding back. He's telling this whole story about what happened last season, how he, you know, revealed himself, how he came to Earth, yada yada. And I mean, it was a pretty good speech. I liked it. But the focus is on Halo the whole time. And, you know, and just, it was a good after credit scene. It's another good characterization moment for Halo and for Fred Bug, or Ravager. And yeah, I'm really liking the way that the first 3 episodes of this panned out. I mean, I'm glad that they gave us 3 episodes up front, although it's crazy trying to get a review out. But if you've watched this long on the video, thank you very much for tuning in. If you're watching Young Justice Phantoms, please leave your comments down below and let me know what you think of these first 3 episodes of Part 2 so far of Phantoms. I would greatly appreciate the feedback and the camaraderie. It's great. If you do that, please consider liking this video if you did like it. And also, of course, consider subscribing to NerdTube. We are the greatest YouTube channel you've kind of heard of. We will catch you in the next one next week for Young Justice, and we've got a plethora of other things coming out on the channel, so check it out. Catch you guys later.